Good morning. Thank you for joining me in this morning mindfulness practice. On Monday, I started reading Bob Proctor's Purpose, Visions, and Goals article, and I'm going to finish off with that today. He said, "Do you have a definite purpose that guides your ambitions, vision, and goals?" And at the beginning of this lesson, he quotes Napoleon Hill from The Laws of Success. What a different story people would have to tell if they would adopt a definite purpose and stand by that purpose until it had time to become an all-consuming purpose. What is it that you would truly love to do? It's not going to come automatically. It's going to take rewiring your brain because we weren't wired for success. We weren't wired for happiness. Our brains were wired for survival. Think about that. You're not automatically happy, but you're automatically looking for threats in the environment. We don't automatically practice enjoying our lives and being grateful and looking for the good in things. Those are habits that you can develop. And when you develop the habit of stopping the negative train of thought and deliberately savoring and enjoying your life and being grateful, and then intentionally deciding what you want, intentionally playing, intentionally doing something just for the pleasure of it, like you did when you were a child, that rewires your brain so that you receive what you desire. You receive what you really want. You open yourself to allow the good to come into your life. So in Bob Proctor's Lessons Worth Sharing, we talked about purpose, visions, and goals. So this part is when you're not doing what you should be doing. Bob Proctor wrote, "There's one last point I'd like to make about recognizing your purpose. More often than not, people have difficulty getting focused on what it is they're put on this planet to do because they're already doing something day in and day out that exhausts their time. And in the end, they feel they're on the right track just because they're covering most of their bills. Just because you have a 9 to 5 obligation and your bills are getting paid doesn't mean that you've figured out your true purpose. This fact, however, can often block or impede your progress toward that better and higher use of your time and talents." Now, some people get stuck and they're afraid or reluctant to make a move because they just can't see how their purpose will pay the bills. Furthermore, they've been programmed from infancy to believe it is better to be safe than sorry. In this context, it is not better to be safe than sorry. When you picture yourself reaching the end of the road, do you think you'll be happy because you had a safe trip, but you never did the things that you dreamed about? And rather than reliving the exciting growth-oriented experiences that you had, you end up wondering, what would have happened if you had stepped out and molded your own future? On the other hand, there are people who land on their purpose and, throwing all caution to the wind, they stop everything they're doing, including their paying jobs, to seek out this higher end for their lives. Bob Proctor said, "Well, I have some admiration for this attitude and believe that people who take this action are eventually going to land on their feet. Drastic action such as waking up and quitting your job tomorrow morning is not something I'd recommend. He said, you see, you can't pursue your purpose if your basic needs of life are not met. Over the years, I've seen a number of people quit their full-time jobs because they want to devote more time and energy to building up this master plan, this dream in their mind. Within weeks, when they begin to see that their needs are not taken care of, they immediately begin to worry about making ends meet, and they blow it. When your needs are taken care of, you are free to move. You're free to take action. Freedom is simply the clear expression of spiritual power flowing to and through you. When you're enjoying freedom, you're free of constricting worry. You don't lie awake at night planning your escape from your less than satisfactory life because you're already free. It is absolutely essential then that before you take any drastic action, you first sit down and decide what your true needs are. What do you need to survive, to pay rent, to buy food, to keep the lights on and the water running? What do you need? Not want, but first, what do you need in order to ensure that freedom in your mind and in your reality? Bob Proctor says, come up with a figure. So first, you write down what are your basic needs? How much does it cost you to live? Basically, a budget. What do you pay for housing, for insurance, for gas for your vehicle? Do you have a debt that you need to service? Do you have a mortgage payment? And what do you pay for groceries? What are your basic living costs? And then when you have that figure, give yourself a mental break for just a few hours. Just forget about it. Don't worry about it. Just write down the figure and then let it go for a few hours. Then come back to that figure. Bob suggests that you whittle it down further. What can you cut from the first figure that you came up with? What can you honestly live without for a period of time? What can you honestly live without for a period of time? A lot of people subscribe to various things and then they forget about them, and the payment automatically comes out of their account and they're not even using that service anymore. Bob Proctor said, I've found that when people take a first run at what they need, it's usually more than what they need. So he wants you to write down just the absolute essentials so that you're free from worry. Find a way to get that financial need met. Can you go to a part-time basis with your existing company? Can you switch to another position within your company that allows that part-time base? Can you find a new job completely that still gives you the freedom and flexibility to work a few hours each and every day on what your true purpose is? Have you decided what your purpose is? And just how ambitious are you? What are you willing to sacrifice or endure in order to get yourself moved onto the right track? If you know what your purpose is, if you know what you truly desire, the way you want to be living, and you visualized it and you've set it as a destination, You're going to have to make some sacrifices. You can't keep living the way you've been living and have your beautiful vision show up in your life. The fact is, no matter how easily your purpose comes to you, you'll be asked to make sacrifices in order to fully bring it into your life. In order to have any good come into your life, you must create a space for it first. That's one of the laws of the universe. Bob says, when I mention sacrifice, there are people who envision some kind of Old Testament ritual that involves really unhappy goats. I'm not talking about that kind of sacrifice. There's a common misconception out there that sacrifice means you're losing something. You're not losing here. When you're sacrificing something in order to operate at your higher level, your purpose, your mission on this planet, you're just giving up something of a lower nature to bring in something of a higher nature. For example, if you wanted to be a New York Times best-selling author, you're going to have to spend some time quietly thinking and purposefully writing. And that might mean giving up endless hours of scrolling Facebook or binge watching Netflix. If you want to be at your ideal body weight, you're going to need to give up some leisure time laying around the couch and spending time walking, lifting weights, going to the gym, doing something active that changes your body shape and helps you release the extra weight. So what you really want, you have to give up the old version of you. You have to give up something that you do automatically that keeps you where you are in order to attain what you want. Bob Proctor says you can't get to the top of the ladder unless you leave the bottom. This is true in every facet of life. Think of the people who are looking for a new relationship, but they still haven't let go of the old one. Look at the people starting diet programs who just can't give up their morning bagel and cream cheese. And in today's economy, there are all kinds of people who have been downsized and they're out looking for a new position, but they've still got the old position with its negative emotional baggage fixed in their mind. What would you sacrifice in order to move into a new life? In order to obtain your dream? In order to do every day what you love to do? What would you sacrifice in order to do what you love to do? As a guideline, Bob Proctor said, I tell my coaching students and seminar attendees to consider sacrificing first what is not vital to your survival, and second, what is not required to achieve your purpose. You're not going to endanger your life or the lives of those around you. You're not going to give up your health, but you might give up something you enjoy as a pastime or a hobby in order to devote more time to creating this dream of yours. You might be willing to endure a temporary cash crunch in order to get a brilliant idea up and running. You might be willing to give up 1 or 2 nights a week in order to receive the education, training, or certification you need to get you one step closer to your goal. How ambitious are you in reaching this stated desire? Ambition is the expression of your desire. It's the thing that drives you. He pointed out earlier that ambition is the talent agent that puts you in the spotlight on the stage of life. It's the fuel that pushes you forward. Ambition gives you confidence. Bob Proctor would say that confidence is strength with style. Arnold Palmer says that confidence is a mix of concentration and pure hunger. There's an enormous difference between hunger and greed. Hunger is understanding that you have an infinite source of supply and that you're here to do God's work. After all, God is the creator and God's work is creation. It's why we possess this hunger to express this power in a greater way every day. Greed, on the other hand, indicates there is a limited supply and we may not get our share, so we'll take it from anyone and everyone. We don't care what happens to the next person. It's every person for themselves. When you're in harmony with the law, greed thinking does not exist. So let's review what we've covered. We establish our purpose. We build our vision. We set our goals. We establish our purpose. We build our vision. We set our goals. It's absolutely essential that the goal is something you want. There's no playing it safe by simply going after what you think you can do. You've got to really want it. And you want it because it's moving you in the direction of your vision. It's not just getting a nicer car or earning an extra dollar. Your goal is something you dearly want. It's your heart's desire. It's helping you move in the direction of your vision. Your vision was established with a long-term view of doing the thing you love doing day in and day out on purpose, because your purpose is doing what you truly love to do. Now, you've got all three elements. There need be no excuses. Regardless of what's happened up to this moment, it's part of your past. Forgive it. Release it from your mind. Abandon it. Rejoice. Wrap your arms around yourself and recognize what you truly love to do. I've given you the compass. Now stay on course. One of the most important articles that Bob Proctor ever wrote in his lifetime was a little article called Decision. And he would say, that's the most important thing, is to decide what you really want, and then everything falls into place. He always talked about you can't figure out how it's going to happen when you're guided by your internal desires, by your internal guidance system, by your deep desire for what you want. You're not going to know how to get it. That's part of the fun. But first, make the decision, and then everything shows up to fulfill the picture. The subject matter that I'm about to share with you could have enormous impact on your life if you will take the time to review what I'm about to share with you 2 or 3 times so that it truly sinks in to the depths of your mind. There is a single mental move you can make, which in a millisecond will solve enormous problems for you. It has the potential to improve almost any personal or business decision you will ever encounter. And it could literally propel you down the path to incredible success. We have a name for this magic mental activity. It's called decision. Bob Proctor said, I suppose there are a number of subjects that school neglected to teach us. One that stands out above the rest is decision, definite decision. The major weakness of all educational systems is that they neither teach nor encourage the habit of definite decision. Napoleon Hill wrote an entire chapter on this subject and suggested it is the only way to master procrastination. The habit of indecision, acquired because the deficiencies of our school system, goes with the student into the occupation he or she chooses, if in fact they chose their occupation. Generally, a youth just out of school seeks any job that can be found, taking the first position they find because they've fallen into the habit of indecision. 98 out of every 100 people working for wages today are in the positions they hold because they lacked the definiteness of a decision to plan a definite position. Napoleon Hill made it very clear in his writings that definiteness of decision always requires courage, sometimes great courage. Bob Proctor had a friend and business colleague, Dr. Carol N. Hildebrand. She wrote a couple of paragraphs on decision that Bob believed should be chiseled in granite and placed on the grounds of every educational institution worldwide. Dr. Hildebrand said, "There is a corollary element that must go hand in hand with a decision, and that is commitment. It must be a committed decision." Most of us have weak decision-making muscles. We do not even recognize what it means to make a real decision. We fail to realize the force of change a truly congruent, committed decision makes. Part of our problem is that we use the term decision so loosely that it has come to describe our wishes, not our commitments. Instead of making decisions, we state our preferences. The word decision comes from the Latin roots de, meaning from, and cadere, meaning to cut. Therefore, a decision means cutting from any other possibility. A true decision then means you are committed to achieving a result and then cutting yourself off from any other possibility. That means no plan B. Where are you going? You make a definite decision. No matter what, that's where I'm going. Bob Proctor said, committed decisions show up in two places, your calendar and your checkbook. No matter what you say you value or even think your priorities are, what you say you value or what your priorities are, you only have to look at last year's calendar and checkbook to see the decisions you've made about what you truly value. For example, I am committed to growth both professionally and personally. A review of my calendar always shows multiple continuing education courses, seminars, and workshops in both the personal growth area as well as in my profession. Bob said my checkbook is filled with tuition disbursements, purchases of books and videos. Bottom line, see how you have reserved your time. Look at your expenditures. Those are the roadmaps to the decisions you've made in the past. After making a true decision, especially the tough ones, we usually feel a tremendous burden has been lifted from our shoulders. Now, isn't that the truth? When you think about something that you want to do, and then you think and think and think and wish and hope and overthink, you start to get all the reasons and excuses why it's going to be hard. It's going to take a long time. It's never going to happen. That is your survival brain kicking in. When you make a committed decision, this is what I want, this is where I'm going, this I will do. Here are 3 things that you can do to make sure you get there. Number 1, start saying stop every time a negative thought loops. Every time a thought pops into your head, I can't do it, or you worry about something, especially if it's outside of your control, just say stop. And notice 3 things, 3 ordinary things, maybe something that you can smell or taste, something you can see in your environment, something that's neutral, not necessarily an extremely positive thought, because if you're being extremely negative, you can't jump to joy and happiness from worry and anxiety. You have to move up a ladder of vibration. So you just notice, oh, there are clouds in the sky. My walls are colored purple. My door is white. Just notice, name 3 things. When you say it out loud, you interrupt the automatic negativity in your brain. And then deliberately hold a positive moment. When something good happens, just deliberately replay that in your mind for 20 to 30 seconds. Hold a beautiful thought, a lovely cup of coffee, petting your animal, traffic is flowing. Just savor the moment and start intentionally playing, doing something that brings joy into your life just because it's fun, just because you enjoy it, just because it changes your energy. It gets you into the vibrational energy of joy and happiness. And then you can spend time visualizing, spending time writing the version of you that would have the goal that you would love to have. Training your brain to look for positive, look for evidence of what you do want instead of the past, instead of what's going wrong, instead of what you don't want. Spend some time being happy on purpose. Then you can write out a goal that you truly desire as if it's already happened, and you can get into the feeling of it and then take action. Create a wonderful day. Thank you for joining me in this morning mindfulness practice. For my clients, I'll see you back here at 9 o'clock Central Standard Time. Otherwise, I'll see you here tomorrow at 7. Thank you.